Hello everyone! Today I'm going to read one of my favourite books. It's called One Smart Fish and it's by Wormell. I hope you enjoy it. Long ago, before you were born and before I was born, and before anyone in the whole world was born, the ocean was filled with amazing fish. It still is, of course, only they were more amazing then. Some were amazingly colourful, like these. Some were amazingly weird, like this one. Some were fat, and some were thin. Some were short, and some were long. Some were big, and some were small. Some were cute, and some were scary. But the most amazing fish of all was this one. That one. Yes, that one. He doesn't look amazing, but he was. He was wonderfully smart, smarter than all the other fish in the ocean put together. He was so smart, he could do almost anything. He could sing and dance and make wonderful music. He could draw fantastic pictures and perform marvellous plays. This fish was a genius. And yet he was not content, for there was one thing he wanted to do more than anything else. And it was the one thing he couldn't do. He wanted to walk upon the land. Every year when all the fish went up to the landside for their holidays, the smart fish would gaze up at the beach, longing to explore the world, to feel the wind on his face and the sun on his scales. But everyone knows that fish can't walk, can they? Well, this fish was not going to be put off by a thing like that. So he thought long and hard until at last he came up with a brilliant idea. Feet. It sounds obvious now, but back then no one had ever heard of feet. So the smart fish made himself a beautiful set of feet and slipped them on over his fins. Then, one bright day, he emerged from the waves and walked up the beach. He was the first fish ever in the history of the world to walk upon the land. And not just the first fish, he was the first creature ever to walk upon the land. There was no one else. The place was empty. Well, there may have been a few bugs and insects, but that was all. The smart fish was bored and lonely. So he dived back into the ocean to join all the other fish. But do you know what? That walking idea eventually caught on, and a few years later, it may have been a few million years later, some other fish tried it. They weren't clever enough to make feet of their own, so they slithered up the beach, crawling on their fins, which is not nearly so good as walking, of course. So after a few years, it may have been a few 100 million years, they grew feet instead of fins. And then, guess what? They weren't fish anymore, they were reptiles. Then they really started changing, and all this started happening. And that eventually is how you and I got here. And it was all thanks to one smart fish. The end. I hope you enjoyed it.